I stopped using them 5 weeks ago.
The pregnancy test hit the marble floor and shattered. 2 pink lines stared back at Maya Bennett like an accusation, like a death sentence, like the end of everything she thought she knew about the man sleeping in the bedroom 30 feet away. Her hands gripped the bathroom sink so hard her knuckles went white against her brown skin, and the only sound in the Seoul penthouse was her ragged breathing and the distant hum of a city that had become both her paradise and her prison. 3 months. She'd been with Park Jin-woo for exactly 3 months. 93 days of the most intense, consuming, earth-shattering relationship of her life. And in that time, they'd been careful. Always careful. Protection every single time, because Maya had plans, had dreams, had a whole future mapped out that didn't include being trapped in a foreign country with a baby and a man whose business dealings she'd been too in love to question. Except now, staring at those 2 pink lines, Maya realized with ice-cold clarity that careful had been an illusion. That the protection had stopped weeks ago. That the man she'd fallen for, the man who'd made her feel more alive than anyone in her 24 years, had been playing a completely different game. Maya. His voice cut through the bathroom door, low and smooth and wrapped in that possessive Korean endearment that used to make her melt. Now it made her blood run cold. I know you found out. Come out so we can talk. I know you found out. Not, is everything okay? Not, what's wrong? Not even a pretense of surprise. Just calm, cold acknowledgement that she'd discovered his plan. Because it had been a plan all along. Every coffee date, every whispered promise, every time he'd looked at her like she was the only woman in the world, it had all been leading to this moment. To 2 pink lines and a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. Maya's reflection stared back from the mirror. Dark skin flushed with shock, natural curls wild around her face, eyes wide with something between terror and rage. Behind her, through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seoul's Gangnam skyline glittered like a million tiny judgments. All those lights, all those people living normal lives, and here she was trapped in a bathroom, pregnant by a man she suddenly realized she didn't know at all. Maya. Firmer now, that edge of command bleeding through the patience. Open the door. We both know you're not going to hide in there forever. He was right. Of course he was right. Jin-woo was always right, always 3 steps ahead. Always calculating while she'd been drowning in emotion and good sex and the intoxicating fantasy that a girl from Chicago could find her fairy tale in the arms of a Korean man who looked at her like she hung the moon. But fairy tales don't trap you. Fairy tales don't steal your choice. And the man waiting outside that door? He wasn't a prince. He was something far more dangerous. Maya's hand went to her still flat stomach, and she made herself ask the question that would define everything that came next. What do you do when the monster you're falling for has already made sure you can never escape? Her fingers found the door handle. Cold metal against her sweating palm. One twist and her life would change forever. One twist and she'd have to face the man who'd orchestrated her pregnancy like a chess move. One twist and she'd have to decide if love could survive this kind of betrayal. She opened the door. Jin-woo stood in the doorway like a fallen angel waiting for judgment. He discarded his suit jacket, and his white shirt hung open, revealing the black ink that crawled up from his collarbone. A tiger mid-pounce, claws extended, teeth bared in eternal violence. At 6'3", he towered over her 5'5" frame, all controlled power and lethal grace. But it was his face that broke something inside her chest. He wasn't sorry. Wasn't regretful. Wasn't anything except completely, utterly satisfied. You knew. The words scraped out of her throat like broken glass. Oh my God, you knew I was pregnant before I did. Of course I knew. His dark eyes tracked over her face with an intensity that made her skin prickle with equal parts dread and something she refused to name. I've been tracking your cycle for months, Maya. Downloaded that app on your phone while you were sleeping. Knew exactly when you'd be most fertile, most vulnerable, most likely to conceive. The room tilted. Maya grabbed the doorframe to keep from collapsing, her heart hammering so hard she could taste copper in her mouth. We use protection. Every single time for 3 months, I stopped using them 5 weeks ago. He said it like he was discussing the weather. Like he hadn't just confessed to destroying her entire future. Stopped buying them. Stopped pretending. Just me and you and nature taking its course. You're insane. The words came out as a whisper because anything louder would have been a scream. You tampered with my birth control? You got me pregnant on purpose. Yes. No hesitation. No shame. Just that single word hanging in the air between them like a death sentence. Maya's hand flew up before conscious thought caught up, aiming for his face with all the rage and betrayal burning through her veins. But Jinwoo caught her wrist mid-swing, his grip iron wrapped in silk. Firm enough to stop her, but careful not to bruise. Always so careful with his violence when it came to her. Let me go. She yanked against his hold, but he pulled her closer instead, until she could smell his cologne, sandalwood and smoke, and feel the heat radiating off his body like a furnace. Until she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes and remember every time those eyes had looked at her with something she'd mistaken for love. No. His free hand came up to cup her jaw, tilting her face up to meet his gaze. I'm never letting you go, Maya. That's the entire point of what I did. You trapped me. Her voice cracked, and she hated herself for the tears burning behind her eyes. You stole my choice. My future. Your contract ends in 9 weeks. Jinwoo's thumb traced along her jawline, and despite everything, despite the fury and betrayal coursing through her veins, her traitorous body still leaned into his touch. 9 weeks, and you were going to board a plane back to Chicago. Back to your safe little life teaching English to bored high schoolers. Back to your judgmental family and your mediocre friends, and that ex-fiancé who never deserved you in the first place. His forehead dropped to rest against hers, and she could feel his breath ghosting across her lips. You were going to leave me, Maya. And I couldn't. I can't. I won't allow that. So you decided to baby trap me? That's your solution. She shoved at his chest, but it was like pushing against a wall of muscle and obsession. Force me to stay because now I'm carrying your child? You think I had a choice? Something raw flickered in his eyes. Something that looked almost like pain beneath all that arrogant certainty. You walked into my life 3 months ago wearing that red dress at the gallery opening, and you looked at me. Actually looked at me like I was a man, not a weapon. Like I was worth knowing instead of just fearing. His jaw clenched, and Maya saw the muscle jump beneath his skin. Do you know what happens when you're the head of the Juan Syndicate? When everyone who sees you calculates how to use you or destroy you or profit from knowing you. When even your own mother looks at you and sees a chess piece instead of a son. What are you talking about? Maya's mind was racing, trying to process words that made no sense. Syndicate? What syndicate? Jinwoo's smile was sharp enough to cut. You never wondered where the money came from? The penthouse, the cars, the way people bow when I walk into restaurants? You never questioned why men twice my age call me Sajangnam with fear in their voices. Ice water flooded Maya's veins. You said you were an import-export. I am. His thumb traced her lower lip. I import weapons. Export drugs. Facilitate everything the Korean underground needs to function. I'm not a businessman, Jagiya. I'm a criminal. And now that you're carrying my child? His hand slid from her jaw to rest against her still flat stomach. Now my enemies have the perfect weapon to destroy me. You. How does a woman escape a man who's planned her entire future? How does she run when the monster holding her might be the only thing standing between her and something worse? Maya stared up at Jinwoo, at this stranger wearing her lover's face, and realized with devastating clarity that the real nightmare wasn't the pregnancy. It was the fact that, even knowing what he'd done, even understanding he'd manipulated and trapped and stolen her choice, part of her still wanted to lean into his arms and let him promise everything would be okay. What have you done to us? She whispered. Jinwoo's smile was gentle and terrifying at the same time. I've made sure we survive. Together. Whether you forgive me or not. The security alarm started screaming. The alarm's shrill scream cut through the penthouse like a knife through silk. Jinwoo's entire body went rigid, his hand still pressed against Maya's stomach, but every muscle in his frame had shifted from lover to predator in the span of a heartbeat. Stay behind me. He moved toward the living room with fluid grace, pulling a gun from somewhere Maya hadn't even seen him carrying. When had he armed himself? How had she never noticed? Jinwoo, what's happening? Quiet. Not harsh, but absolute. The voice of a man who expected obedience because lives depended on it. He pressed a panel on the wall she'd walked past 1,000 times, and it slid open to reveal screens. Dozens of them. Security footage from every angle of the building, the street, the surrounding blocks. And on those screens, Maya saw men in black tactical gear moving through the lobby with military precision. Oh my God. Her hand flew to her mouth. They found us faster than I expected. Jinwoo's jaw clenched as he watched the screens, his finger resting on the gun's trigger with casual familiarity that made Maya's stomach turn. I knew getting you pregnant would paint a target on our backs, but I thought we'd have more time. More time for what? Maya's voice pitched higher. Who are those people? Why are they here? Jinwoo turned to face her, and in his eyes she saw something that terrified her more than the armed men on the screens. Resignation. Like he'd been expecting this. Like he'd planned for this exact scenario. Remember when I said I'm the head of the Huan Syndicate? He moved toward a bookshelf, pressed another hidden panel. The entire wall slid back to reveal an arsenal that belonged in a military compound, not a penthouse apartment. Assault rifles, handguns, ammunition, body armor, knives that looked like they could gut a person in seconds. That means I control 60% of Seoul's underground market. Drugs, weapons, information, protection rackets. Anything illegal that generates money, I get a cut. Maya's legs gave out. She grabbed the back of the couch to keep from falling, her mind unable to reconcile the man who'd held her gently every night with the monster standing in front of an illegal armory. It also means, Jinwoo continued, strapping a vest over his shirt with practiced efficiency, that I have enemies. Lots of them. The Park family, the Choi organization, politicians I've refused to pay off, prosecutors I've threatened. They've all wanted me dead for years, but I'm too well protected, too careful, too ruthless for them to touch. He crossed back to her, cupped her face with hands that smelled like gun oil. But you? A pregnant American woman I'm obsessed with? You're not protected. You're vulnerable. You're the perfect pressure point. So you knew this would happen? Maya shoved him away, fury overriding fear. You knew getting me pregnant would make me a target, and you did it anyway. I did it because you were leaving. His composure cracked, and for the first time since she'd met him, Jinwoo raised his voice. In 9 weeks, you'd be gone, and every rival syndicate in Seoul would know I cared about someone who walked away. They'd hunt you down in Chicago just to prove they could hurt me. At least this way, you're here where I can protect you. Protect me? Maya's laugh bordered on hysteria. You made me a target. I made you untouchable. Jinwoo grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at the screens where the tactical team was now in the elevator. In our world, pregnant women are sacred. It's the oldest rule in Korean organized crime. You harm a pregnant woman, every syndicate unites to destroy you. It doesn't matter whose side they're on. You become everyone's enemy. Maya stared at the screens, at the armed men rising toward them, and a horrifying realization crashed over her. You didn't get me pregnant to trap me. You got me pregnant to save me. I did both. Jinwoo's thumb traced her cheekbone with devastating tenderness. I trapped you because I'm selfish and obsessed and couldn't let you go. But I also marked you as off-limits to every criminal in this city. The moment word spreads that you're carrying my child, you become the one person in Seoul no one can touch without starting a war. The elevator dinged. 37th floor. They had seconds. So who's coming for us if pregnant women are untouchable? Maya's voice came out strangled. Jinwoo's smile was cold enough to freeze blood. Someone who doesn't care about rules. Someone who wants to hurt me badly enough to risk every syndicate's wrath. He pressed a phone into her hand, a contact already pulled up, emergency protocol, Mom. If I don't survive the next 5 minutes, call that number. My mother will keep you safe, even if she hates you for existing. Jinwoo. Get in the panic room. He pointed to another hidden door behind the false wall. Lock it from inside. Don't open it for anyone except me. I'm not leaving you. The penthouse door exploded inward. Jinwoo shoved Maya toward the panic room as the first bullets shattered the floor-to-ceiling windows. Glass rained down like crystal tears, and the last thing Maya saw before stumbling into darkness was Jin-Woo raising his gun with the cold precision of a man who'd killed before and wouldn't hesitate to kill again. The door sealed behind her with a hydraulic hiss, and Maya pressed her back against the reinforced steel, one hand on her stomach, one hand clutching the phone, listening to gunfire tear through the home where she'd thought she was building a future. Who's coming for them, and will Jin-Woo's protection be enough? Or has his obsession finally written a check his violence can't cash? The gunfire stopped. Maya pressed her ear against the panic room door, her heart slamming against her ribs so hard she thought they might crack. Silence. Terrible, suffocating silence that was somehow worse than the bullets and the shouting and the sound of glass shattering like her entire world was coming apart. Jin-Woo. Her voice came out as a whisper. Then louder. Jin-Woo. Nothing. Her hand found the door handle, shaking so violently she could barely grip it. Every survival instinct screamed at her to stay hidden, stay safe, stay locked behind 3 inches of reinforced steel. But the man who'd trapped her, who'd stolen her choice, who'd gotten her pregnant on purpose was out there. Possibly dead. Possibly bleeding out on the marble floor while she hid like a coward. Maya turned the lock. The door opened to hell. The penthouse looked like a war zone. Bullet holes punctured the walls and constellations of violence. The floor-to-ceiling windows were completely gone, Seoul's night wind howling through the space like a living thing. Furniture overturned. Blood splattered across the white walls in abstract patterns that would haunt her nightmares for years. And bodies. 3 of them. Men in black tactical gear sprawled across the floor in positions that bodies shouldn't bend, their faces hidden behind masks, their blood pooling on the expensive marble that Jin-Woo had once carried her across while she laughed. I told you to stay inside. His voice came from behind her, and Maya spun so fast she nearly fell. Jin-Woo stood in the wreckage of his home, his white shirt soaked through with blood, his face splattered with red, his gun still in his hand. But he was standing. Walking toward her with that predatory grace, like he hadn't just killed 3 men with his bare hands and whatever weapons he'd found. Are you hurt? Maya's hands reached for him before her brain caught up, searching for wounds, for injuries, for any sign that the blood covering him was his own. Not mine. Jin-Woo caught her wrists, his grip gentle despite the violence still radiating off him in waves. All of it belongs to them. Maya looked past him at the bodies, at the men he'd killed to protect her, and her stomach lurched. She twisted away and vomited onto the floor, her entire body shaking with adrenaline and shock and the horrifying realization that she was in love with a man who could kill 3 trained soldiers and not even be breathing hard. Jin-Woo held her hair back. Even covered in blood, even with death in his eyes, he held her hair back and whispered soothing words in Korean against her temple like she was something precious instead of something he'd trapped. I've got you, Jagia. I've got you. You're safe now. Safe. The word was a joke. Maya was pregnant by a crime lord, standing in a room full of corpses, covered in the blood spray from men her lover had murdered. Safe was a concept that belonged to a different life. A different Maya who taught English and dated normal men and didn't know what human blood smelled like when it was fresh. Who were they? She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, forcing herself to look at the bodies. To really see what Jin-Woo was capable of when someone threatened what was his. Park family enforcers. Jin-Woo's jaw clenched. Sent to eliminate you before word spreads about the pregnancy. They wanted to hurt me in the one way that would actually work. By killing me. It wasn't a question. By killing my child. His hand pressed against her stomach, still gentle despite being covered in someone else's blood. They don't care about you, Maya. They care about destroying the one thing I'd burn this entire city down to protect. Maya looked at his face. Really looked at him. At the cold calculation in his eyes, the complete lack of remorse, the way he'd transformed from the man who'd held her gently into something inhuman and back again in the span of minutes. This was who Jin-Woo really was. Not the coffee dates and museum visits and whispered promises. This. Violence wrapped in expensive suits. Death disguised as protection. A monster who loved her enough to kill. How many people have you murdered? The question fell out before she could stop it. Jin-Woo didn't flinch. Didn't lie. Didn't try to soften the truth. 12. That I've personally executed. Hundreds more that I've ordered killed. Thousands that have died because of decisions I've made in boardrooms and backroom deals. The number hit her like a physical blow. 12 people. He looked 12 human beings in the eye and ended their existence. And now 3 more. 15 bodies in his wake, and he was looking at her like she was the sun, and he was just a planet caught in her orbit. You're a monster. But even as she said it, Maya's hands were still on his chest, still checking for wounds, still making sure he was okay. I know. Jean Wu's thumb traced her jawline, smearing blood across her brown skin. But I'm your monster. And that means something. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his entire face went stone cold. We need to leave. Now. Why? What? That wasn't the main assault. Jean Wu pulled her toward the private elevator that led to the parking garage. That was a test. They wanted to see how well protected you are, how fast I'd respond, what kind of security I have in place. Maya's blood turned to ice water. A test? You just killed 3 men, and it was a test. The real attack is coming. Jean Wu stabbed the elevator button, his other hand checking his gun's ammunition with practiced efficiency. They're regrouping now. Probably called in reinforcements. We have maybe 10 minutes before this entire building becomes a kill zone. The elevator doors opened. Jean Wu pulled Maya inside, and as the doors closed on the penthouse full of blood and bodies and shattered dreams, Maya saw something that made her heart stop. One of the dead men's hand moved. Reached for something on his vest. A radio. A detonator. Something. Jean Wu. The explosion threw them against the elevator wall as the penthouse erupted in flames behind them. The cable shook, groaned, and for one terrible second Maya thought they were going to plummet 37 floors to their deaths. But the elevator held. Kept descending. And Jean Wu kept his body between her and the doors, kept his gun raised, kept himself as the shield between Maya and the violence that was hunting them. Who ordered the attack? Maya gasped against his chest. Who wants us dead badly enough to bomb your home? Jean Wu's face was grim as the elevator hit the parking garage. Someone who knows me. Someone close enough to understand exactly how to hurt me. The doors opened, and he pulled her toward a black SUV with tinted windows. Someone you know too. Maya's stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Jean Wu opened the SUV door, and on the windshield, written in what looked like lipstick, were 4 words that made Maya's entire world tilt sideways. Marcus says hello, baby. Who betrayed them, and how close to home is the threat? Maya stared at the words on the windshield until they blurred. Marcus. Her ex-fiancé. The man she'd fled Chicago to escape. The man who'd shattered her heart into so many pieces, she'd had to cross an ocean to put herself back together. That Marcus. No. She shook her head, backing away from the SUV like it was contaminated. No, that's impossible. Marcus doesn't even know I'm in Seoul. I changed my number, deleted my social media, told my family not to tell him anything. Get in the car, Maya. Jean Wu's voice was steel wrapped in silk. We can discuss this somewhere that isn't about to be swarmed by more killers. Don't tell me what to do. Her voice echoed through the parking garage. You don't get to drop that bomb and then just Marcus? My Marcus partnered with your enemies? That makes no sense. Jean Wu grabbed her arm, not rough but firm, and shoved his phone in her face. Security footage played on the screen. Grainy but unmistakable. Marcus Thompson, in his stupid designer glasses and his corporate haircut, sitting across from a Korean man in an expensive suit at what looked like a restaurant. Exchanging documents. Shaking hands. Laughing. Footage is from 3 weeks ago. Jean Wu pulled Maya into the SUV, climbed in beside her, and the driver peeled out before her door was even fully closed. The man he's meeting with is Park Sung-min, second in command of the Park family syndicate. The same family that just tried to kill you. Maya couldn't breathe. Couldn't process. The parking garage blurred past the windows as they sped toward the exit, and all she could see was Marcus's face on that phone screen. Marcus, who'd cried when she'd left. Marcus, who'd begged her to stay, to work things out, to forgive him for the cheating that had driven her halfway across the world. Why? The word came out broken. Why would Marcus partner with Korean mobsters? He's a financial analyst. He wears cardigans. He alphabetizes his spice rack. Because you left him. Jin Woo swiped to another image. Bank records. Wire transfers. Hundreds of thousands of dollars moving from Park Sung-min's accounts to Marcus Thompson's. And apparently your ex-fiancé doesn't handle rejection well. This is insane. Maya grabbed the phone, scrolling through the evidence with shaking hands. More photos. Marcus at Incheon Airport. Marcus meeting with private investigators. Marcus sitting in a car across from Jin Woo's building, watching, waiting, stalking. How long has he been in Seoul? 2 months. Jin Woo's jaw clenched. He arrived 1 month before you and I met. Started making connections with my enemies. Offering them something they couldn't refuse. What? What could Marcus possibly offer Korean crime families? Jin Woo's eyes met hers, and Maya saw something that looked almost like pity. You. He offered them detailed information about your routine, your vulnerabilities, your connection to me. He's been surveilling you this entire time, Jigia. Every coffee shop you visited, every late-night walk through Hongdae, every time you came to my penthouse. He documented everything and sold it to the Park family for $300,000 and a promise. The SUV swerved around a corner, and Maya braced herself against the door, her mind reeling. What promise? That they'd help him get you back. Jin Woo pulled up another file. Text messages. Between Marcus and Park Sung-min. The words made Maya's blood run cold. Marcus, she's pregnant. The stupid bitch actually let that monster knock her up. Park, interesting. This changes things. Pregnant women are protected by code. Marcus, I don't care about your codes. I paid you to help me get my fiancé back. Park, she was never yours if she ran to Korea. But we can make a deal. You help us eliminate Cho's leverage, we help you recover your property. Property. Marcus had called her property. Maya's hands trembled as she scrolled further. More messages. Plans. Timelines. Detailed instructions on how to handle her pregnancy. How to make it disappear. How to make her disappear if she refused to come back to Chicago quietly. He wants to kill our baby. The words came out flat, emotionless, because if Maya let herself feel the betrayal right now, she'd shatter into pieces so small no one could ever put her back together. Marcus wants to eliminate the pregnancy and take me back to Chicago, like none of this ever happened. Not just the baby. Jin Woo's voice dropped to something dangerous. He wants me dead too. Made that very clear in his negotiations with the Park family. Eliminate me. Terminate your pregnancy, take you home, and resume the engagement like you never left. That's his plan. Maya looked at Jin Woo, this man who'd trapped her, who'd stolen her choice, who'd gotten her pregnant on purpose. And then she thought about Marcus. Sweet, boring Marcus who'd proposed with a sensible diamond and talked about starter homes in the suburbs and whose idea of adventure was trying a new restaurant without a reservation. That Marcus had paid assassins to hunt her down. Had partnered with criminals to murder the father of her child, had reduced her to property to be recovered, a problem to be solved, an embarrassment to be erased. I was with him for 3 years. Maya's voice cracked. I almost married him. I thought I knew him. You knew who he wanted you to think he was. Jin Woo took her hand, his fingers lacing through hers despite the blood still drying on his skin. Just like I calculated exactly who you needed me to be to make you fall in love with me. The difference is, I'm honest about my manipulation. Marcus convinced you it was love. The SUV pulled into an underground garage Maya didn't recognize. Concrete walls. Flickering fluorescent lights. The smell of oil and something darker, something that reminded her of the bodies in Jin Woo's penthouse. Where are we? Safe house. One of 7 I keep throughout Seoul. Jin Woo's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his entire body went rigid. He's here. What? Whose? Marcus. Jin Woo showed her the phone. A single text message from an unknown number. Namsen Tower. 1 hour. Come alone, Maya, or I tell your family exactly what kind of monster you're sleeping with. And trust me, baby, they'll believe me over the Korean gangster who knocked you up. Maya stared at the message, at the casual cruelty in Marcus's words, and something inside her shifted. Hardened. Crystallized into cold, clear rage. He thinks I'll just come running. Her laugh was bitter. He thinks he can threaten me and I'll abandon everything, abandon you, abandon our child, because he demands it? Will you? Jinwoo's question was quiet, but Maya heard the fear underneath. The genuine terror that maybe Marcus was right. Maybe blood was thicker than 3 months of obsession. Maybe she'd choose the familiar monster over the foreign one. Maya looked down at her stomach. At the life growing inside her that she hadn't chosen, but was already protecting with every instinct she possessed. Then she looked at Jinwoo. At the man who'd killed to keep her safe. Who'd trapped her, but had never pretended to be anything other than what he was. I'm going to Namsan Tower. She met Jinwoo's eyes, and he flinched like she'd struck him. But not to run to Marcus. To look him in the face and show him exactly what he created when he drove me to Seoul. When he made me desperate enough to fall for a man like you. Jinwoo's smile was sharp and proud and terrified all at once. He's not going alone, Maya. This is an obvious trap. Park family will have snipers, enforcers, enough firepower to start a small war. I know. Maya's jaw set. That's why you're coming with me. Hidden. Armed. Ready to do what you do best. Which is, destroy anyone who tries to take what's yours. She placed his hand on her stomach. And whether I like it or not, whether I forgive you or not, I'm yours now. So show Marcus exactly what happens when someone tries to steal from Park Jinwoo. Jinwoo kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her mouth with desperate reverence. You terrify me, you know that? You're supposed to be the good one. The moral compass. The light in my darkness. Maybe your darkness taught me how to fight. Maya pulled away, straightening her spine. Now tell me how we're going to make Marcus regret ever thinking I was property to be recovered. Outside, Seoul's night sky pressed against the garage entrance like a living thing. And somewhere in that city, Marcus Thompson was waiting at Namsan Tower, confident that his ex-fiancée would come crawling back, because that's what she'd always done before. But that Maya had died in a penthouse full of blood. And the woman walking toward him now? She was something new. Something dangerous. Something that neither Marcus nor the Park family nor anyone else in Seoul was prepared to handle. Will Maya risk meeting her ex or trust the man who trapped her? And if she walks into Marcus's trap, can Jinwoo reach her in time? Maya stared at her phone, Marcus's location pin glowing on the screen like a beacon calling her toward either salvation or destruction. Namsan Tower. The most romantic spot in Seoul, where couples came to lock their love onto metal fences and watch the city sparkle beneath them. Of course Marcus would choose that place. Always the romantic gesture. Always the grand manipulation disguised as devotion. Jinwoo watched her from across the safe house table, his eyes tracking every micro-expression on her face like he was reading a bomb manual and one wrong interpretation would detonate everything. He'd cleaned the blood off, changed into fresh clothes, but Maya could still see it. The violence. The bodies. The man who'd killed 3 people without breaking a sweat. You don't have to go. His voice was careful, measured. I can handle Marcus. Make him disappear like he was never in Seoul. Your family would just think he moved on, and you'd never have to face him again. You mean murder him? Maya set the phone down, her hands surprisingly steady. That's what you're offering. To kill my ex-fiancé because he's inconvenient. Because he's dangerous. Jinwoo leaned forward, and Maya saw the predator beneath the man. He's already tried to have you killed once. The Park family doesn't act without significant payment, and Marcus gave them $300,000, detailed surveillance, and a promise to testify against me if they need legal leverage. He's not playing games, Jagiya. He wants you back or he wants you dead. There's no middle ground with men like him. Men like him. Maya's laugh was hollow. You got me pregnant on purpose, but Marcus is the dangerous one? I trapped you because I love you. Jinwoo's jaw clenched. He's hunting you because you damaged his ego. There's a difference. Is there? Maya stood, pacing the small safe house like a caged animal. You both see me as something to possess. You both made choices about my body, my future, my life without asking. You both think you know what's best for me better than I know myself. She spun to face him, and the words came out sharp enough to cut. So tell me, Jinwoo, what makes your obsession noble and his obsession evil? What makes you the hero of the story and him the villain when you both stole my choice? Jinwoo stood slowly, and Maya saw something flicker in his eyes. Pain. Real, Genuine pain that he couldn't hide behind his usual control. You want the truth? The real difference between me and Marcus. Please enlighten me. I'll let you go. His voice cracked on the words. If you walk out that door right now, if you go to Namsan Tower and choose him over me, choose Chicago over Seoul, choose the life you had over the life I forced you into, I'll let you go. I'll dismantle the Park family's operation so they can't touch you. I'll transfer enough money to your account that you and the baby will never need anything. And I'll disappear from your life like I was never here. Maya's breath caught. You're lying. I'm not. Jinwoo crossed to a laptop, typed rapidly, and turned the screen toward her. Bank transfer ready. $10 million. Recipient, Maya Bennett. All he had to do was hit confirm. I planned this the moment I got you pregnant. An escape fund. In case you hated me so much that staying would destroy you. He pulled out another document. Legal papers. Custody agreement. You get full custody. I get nothing. No visitation, no rights, no claim to our child. You can raise them in Chicago, tell them whatever you want about their father, and I'll never interfere. Maya stared at the papers, at the money, at the man who'd just offered her everything she'd thought she wanted 3 months ago. Freedom. Choice. A life without his obsessive control. Why? The word came out barely a whisper. Why trap me just to offer to let me go? Because Marcus won't. Jinwoo's hand shook as he set the papers on the table. If you go to him, he'll take you back to Chicago and spend the rest of your life making sure you never have the power to leave again. He'll monitor your phone, your friends, your bank accounts. He'll get you pregnant again and again until you're too tired, too trapped, too broken to run. He'll smile and call it love while he slowly erases every part of you that made you brave enough to come to Seoul in the first place. He pulled up another file. Screenshots. Marcus's browser history, recovered by Jinwoo's tech team. Maya's stomach turned as she read the search terms. How to control independent girlfriend. Legal ways to monitor spouse. Best tracking apps for iPhone. How to make her financially dependent. He's been planning this for years, Maya. Since before you even left Chicago. Why do you think he cheated? It wasn't because he stopped loving you. It was a test. To see if you'd stay. To see how much you'd tolerate before you broke. Maya sank into a chair, the evidence swimming before her eyes. And when I left instead, he panicked. Jinwoo knelt in front of her, taking her hands. Because the test failed. You were supposed to forgive him, supposed to be grateful he came back, supposed to learn that threatening to leave wouldn't work. But you actually left. You called his bluff. And men like Marcus can't handle that. So he followed me to Seoul. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. He partnered with your enemies. He's been watching me for 2 months, waiting for the perfect moment to prove you need him. Jinwoo's thumb traced circles on her palm. And now that you're pregnant? He's convinced that if he eliminates me, you'll be desperate enough to come back. Scared single mother in a foreign country, no job, no support system. You'd have to return to him. Have to accept whatever terms he offered. Have to let him save you. Maya looked at Jinwoo, really looked at him. At the man who'd shown her his monster from the beginning. Who'd trapped her but never pretended it was anything other than obsession. Who'd stolen her choice, but was now offering it back. You're still a monster, she said quietly. I know. You still got me pregnant on purpose. I know. I should hate you. Her voice broke. I should choose Marcus. Choose Chicago. Choose the safe, normal life over the crime lord who ruined everything. You should. Jinwoo's eyes were wet. Actually wet. Maya had never seen him cry. But Maya, Jagia, my light in the darkness, if you choose me, if you stay, I swear on every body I've buried and every sin I've committed that I will spend the rest of my life earning the choice you didn't get to make. I will prove every single day that I'm worth the prison I built around you. Maya's hand went to her stomach, to the life they'd created through manipulation and obsession, and something that might eventually, possibly, become actual love. She thought about Chicago. About her judgmental family and her mediocre teaching job and a life that had felt like slowly suffocating until she'd bought that one-way ticket to Seoul. She thought about Marcus. About 3 years of feeling never quite good enough, never quite pretty enough, never quite quiet enough to be the woman he actually wanted. And she thought about Jinwoo. About coffee dates and museum visits, and the first time someone had looked at her like she was worth committing crimes to keep. If I go to Namsan Tower, she said slowly, and Marcus is there with Park family enforcers, what happens? Honestly, Jean Woo's face hardened. It's a trap. He's betting on your good heart. Betting you'll trust him over me because he hasn't shown you his monster yet. Park Sung-min will have snipers positioned around the tower. Armed men ready to take you into custody the moment you're away from my protection. They'll eliminate me, terminate the pregnancy, and put you on a plane to Chicago before you can even understand what happened. And if you come with me, hidden, then we turn the trap back on them. Jean Woo stood, pulled out his phone. I have 12 men ready to deploy. Snipers of my own. Escape routes mapped. We go to Namsan Tower, let Marcus think he's won, and when he makes his move, we destroy the Park family's operation so completely they'll never threaten us again. Maya stood, her decision crystallizing into something cold and clear and absolutely certain. I'm going to Namsan Tower, and you're coming with me, Jean Woo, because I need to look Marcus in the face and show him exactly what he created when he tried to control me. And after? Jean Woo's voice was careful. After we deal with Marcus and the Park family, what then? Maya met his eyes. Then you and I are going to have a very long conversation about boundaries, respect, and what kind of relationship we're actually building. Because I'm not staying with you out of fear or desperation or because I have no other options. Then why are you staying? Because you terrify me. Maya took his face in her hands. But Marcus disgusts me. And I'd rather face my fear than swallow my disgust for the rest of my life. Jean Woo kissed her like a man granted pardon from execution. Desperate and reverent and achingly gentle. I'll protect you with everything I have. I know you will. Maya pulled back. Now let's go show my ex-fiancé what happens when he underestimates a woman who learned to love a monster. The drive to Namsan Tower took 30 minutes through Seoul's night traffic. Jean Woo's team followed in 3 separate vehicles, invisible to anyone not trained to spot tactical surveillance. Maya sat in the passenger seat, watching the city blur past, her hand resting on her stomach. What if this goes wrong? She asked quietly. What if they kill you? What if I lose the baby? What if Marcus actually wins? Jean Woo's hand covered hers. Then you take the money, you go to Chicago, and you raise our child to be better than both of us. You tell them their father loved them enough to die protecting them. And you forget Park Jean Woo ever existed. I couldn't forget you if I tried. Maya turned to look at him. That's the problem. That's why this is so complicated. You've ruined me for normal, Jean Woo. After you, how could I ever go back to safe? His smile was sad and fierce at the same time. After you, Jagia, I couldn't go back to empty. So I guess we ruined each other. Namsan Tower loomed ahead, its observation deck glowing against the night sky like a lighthouse calling ships toward rocks. And somewhere up there, Marcus Thompson was waiting. Confident. Prepared. Certain that his ex-fiancée would come crawling back because that's what she'd always done before. But the woman stepping out of Jean Woo's SUV wasn't the woman Marcus had dated. Wasn't the woman who'd apologized for his cheating and tried harder to be what he wanted. Wasn't the woman who'd made herself smaller to fit into his perfectly planned life. This woman was pregnant by a crime lord. This woman had watched 3 men die protecting her. This woman had chosen the monster over the mask. And Marcus Thompson was about to learn exactly what that meant. Ready? Jean Woo adjusted his earpiece, his team confirming positions around the tower. Maya took a deep breath, her hand on her stomach where their child grew. Let's end this. Did Maya just walk into an execution, and can Jean Woo reach her in time? Or is Marcus about to learn that some women don't need saving, they need unleashing? The observation deck was nearly empty. Most tourists had left hours ago, leaving only the glow of locked love padlocks and the Seoul skyline stretching out like scattered diamonds on black velvet. Maya's heels clicked against the concrete as she walked toward the railing where Marcus stood, his back to her, hands in his coat pockets like he was just another romantic fool waiting for his lover. Except Maya could see them now. Jean Woo's training had taught her to notice things. The slight bulge under Marcus's left arm. The way he stood too rigidly, like someone was watching him through a scope. The 3 tourists positioned at strategic points around the deck, all men, all wearing identical shoes despite different outfits. Park family enforcers. Just like Jean Woo predicted. Maya. Marcus turned, and the smile on his face was the same one he'd worn when he proposed. Warm. Trustworthy. Completely manufactured. Thank God you came. I was worried that monster had you so brainwashed you wouldn't. Cut it. Maya stopped 10 feet away, her hands visible, her body language open. Everything Jean Woo had coached her to do. Make them think she's compliant. Make them think she's scared. I'm here. So say what you need to say, Marcus. His smile faltered. You've changed. Your voice, your posture, the way you look at me. What did he do to you? He showed me what control actually looks like. Maya's laugh was sharp. Turns out, you've been doing it for years. I was just too naive to notice. Marcus's face shifted. The warm mask cracked, and something cold slithered underneath. You went through my search history. Jean Woo showed you, didn't he? Took things out of context, made me look like a monster when all I wanted was to keep us together. You tracked my phone. Maya counted on her fingers. You monitored my spending. You isolated me from friends. You cheated to testify I'd stay. And when I left, you paid $300,000 to Korean mobsters to help you drag me back. To save you. Marcus stepped forward, and Maya saw his hand twitch toward whatever was under his jacket. That man got you pregnant on purpose, Maya. He trapped you. I'm trying to free you. By killing my baby? The words came out flat, emotionless. That's freedom, Marcus? Forcing me to terminate my pregnancy so I can come back to Chicago and pretend none of this happened. Marcus's eyes went hard. Dead. Maya saw the real him for the first time in 3 years, and her blood ran cold. It's not your baby. It's a problem. A complication that needs to be resolved before we can fix this. Fix us, you mean? There is no us if you're carrying his bastard. Marcus pulled his hand from his jacket, and Maya saw the gun. Small. Compact. Pressed against his side where the enforcers couldn't see. So here's what's going to happen, baby. You're going to walk over here very calmly. You're going to let me take you to a private clinic where the Park family has doctors waiting. They'll terminate the pregnancy, clean you up, and we'll be on a plane to Chicago by morning. Maya's hand went instinctively to her stomach. And if I refuse? Then I shoot you in the leg. These nice gentlemen help me carry you out, and we do it the hard way. Marcus's voice dropped to something ugly. Either way, that thing inside you dies tonight. Your choice is whether you cooperate or bleed. The observation deck was so quiet Maya could hear her own heartbeat. Could hear the city breathing below them. Could hear Jean Woo's voice in her earpiece, so faint only she could detect it. North Sniper has Marcus. Say the word and I end this. But Maya didn't say the word. Instead, she took a step forward, her hands raised. Okay, Marcus. You win. Just don't hurt me. Please. The pleading in her voice was perfect. Exactly what Marcus expected. Exactly what would make him lower his guard. That's my girl. Marcus's smile returned, triumphant and vicious. I knew you'd see reason. You always do when I'm firm with you. Now come here. Maya walked toward him, each step measured, each breath controlled. The enforcers watched but didn't move. Just another couple reconciling. Just another dramatic romance playing out against Seoul's skyline. Marcus grabbed her arm when she got close enough, his grip bruising. The gun pressed into her side, hidden between their bodies. You're going to smile and walk with me to the elevator. You're going to let me take you to the car. And you're going to be grateful I'm saving you from the life that monster planned. There's just one problem with your plan. Maya met his eyes, and she let him see it. The rage. The hatred. The absolute certainty that he'd already lost. What problem? Marcus's grip tightened. You assumed I came alone. The red dot appeared on Marcus's forehead half a second before his knee exploded. Marcus screamed, releasing Maya as he collapsed. The gun clattered away across the concrete. The 3 enforcers reached for their weapons, but Jean Woo's team was faster. Suppressed gunfire cut through the night air, 3 shots, 3 bodies dropping before they could even draw. And then Jean Woo was there, stepping out of the shadows with his gun trained on Marcus's head. His team materialized around the observation deck perimeter, blocking every exit, every escape route, every possible avenue of rescue. Get away from her. Jean Woo's voice was death incarnate. Get your filthy hands away from what's mine, or the next bullet goes through your skull instead of your kneecap. Marcus writhed on the ground, blood pooling beneath his shattered leg. You're insane. This is assault. I'll have you arrested. The U.S. Embassy will. The U.S. Embassy doesn't care about a man who paid assassins to murder a pregnant woman. Jinwoo nodded, and one of his men dropped a folder next to Marcus. That's every transaction you made with the Park family. Every text message. Every wire transfer. Enough evidence to put you away for conspiracy to commit murder, human trafficking, and international racketeering. Maya watched Marcus's face drain of color as he flipped through the documents. Watched him realize Jinwoo had documented everything. Recorded everything. Built an airtight case that would destroy him legally, financially, and socially. You can't do this. Marcus's voice pitched into desperation. Maya, tell him. Tell him you want to come home. Tell him you choose me. Maya knelt down, careful to keep her body out of Jinwoo's line of fire. She looked at the man she'd almost married, the man who'd reduced her to property, the man who'd just threatened to shoot her and kill her child. I do choose. She stood, walked to Jinwoo's side, and laced her fingers through his. I choose the monster who's honest about what he is over the monster who pretends to be human. Marcus's face twisted with rage and disbelief. You're making a mistake. He'll destroy you. He already did. Maya's smile was sharp enough to cut. But at least he had the decency to let me see the cage before he locked me inside. You would have spent our whole marriage convincing me the cage was freedom. Jinwoo's hand tightened on hers. What do you want me to do with him, Jagia? Your choice. Maya looked at Marcus, at the blood and the fear and the impotent rage in his eyes. A month ago, she would have felt pity. Would have called an ambulance and tried to save him because that's what good people did. But that Maya had died in a penthouse full of corpses. And this Maya? She'd learned that sometimes mercy was just weakness wearing a halo. Give him to the Park family. Her voice was cold. Let them know he failed. Let them know he brought Jinwoo's wrath down on their operation because he couldn't handle rejection. Let them handle the liability. Marcus's eyes went wide with horror. No, Maya, please. You don't understand what they'll do to me. They'll torture me. They'll kill me. Maya, please. You are going to kill my baby. Maya's voice didn't waver. You are going to shoot me, drag me to some clinic, and butcher the life growing inside me because it was inconvenient to your plan. So forgive me if I don't care what the Park family does to you, Marcus. You stopped being human the moment you reduced me to property. Jinwoo nodded to his men. They hauled Marcus up, ignoring his screams, his pleas, his promises to disappear, to go back to Chicago, to never bother them again. Wait. Maya's voice stopped them. She walked over to Marcus, looked him in the eye one last time. You taught me something valuable tonight. You taught me that monsters come in all shapes. Some wear expensive suits and kill without remorse. Others wear cardigans and call their violence love. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper only Marcus could hear. Jinwoo got me pregnant on purpose, and I'm staying with him anyway. What does that tell you about how badly you failed as a man? Marcus's face crumpled. And Maya felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just cold, clear certainty that she'd made the right choice. Jinwoo's men took Marcus away. His screams echoed through the observation deck until they faded into Seoul's night noise. Gone. Eliminated. Removed from her life like a cancer cut out before it could spread. Maya stood at the railing, looking out at the city, her hand on her stomach. Jinwoo came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, pressed his face into her hair. You could have chosen mercy. His voice was quiet. Could have told me to let him go. I would have if you'd asked. I know. Maya leaned back into his warmth. But mercy is for people who deserve it. Marcus forfeited that right when he aimed a gun at our child. Our child. Jinwoo's hand covered hers on her stomach. You said, our. Maya turned in his arms, looking up at this man who'd killed for her, trapped her, destroyed anyone who threatened what was his. I'm still angry at you. I still haven't forgiven you for stealing my choice. But Jinwoo. She touched his face. If I had to choose between your honest obsession and Marcus's disguised control, I choose you. Every time. Jinwoo kissed her like she was oxygen, and he was drowning. desperate and grateful and achingly gentle despite the violence still humming through his veins. We need to leave. He pulled back reluctantly. Park family will retaliate when they realize we've eliminated their enforcers and returned their investment broken. Where do we go? Jinwoo's smile was dangerous and beautiful at the same time. Home. To meet my mother. Because if you think tonight was hard, Jagia, wait until you meet the woman who made me. Will Jinwoo kill Marcus, and what will that mean for Maya's soul? Or has she already lost pieces of herself that can never be recovered? The helicopter ride from Namsan Tower to Jinwoo's family compound should have been terrifying. Maya had never been in a helicopter before, never felt the city drop away beneath her feet while rotors thundered overhead like mechanical thunder. But after watching 3 men die, after condemning Marcus to whatever horror the Park family would inflict, after choosing a crime lord over her ex-fiancé, a helicopter ride barely registered on her fear scale. She was numb. Completely, utterly numb. Drink this. Jinwoo pressed warm tea into her hands, his thumb tracing circles on her wrist. They were alone in the passenger cabin, his security team in the cockpit giving them privacy. You're in shock. Your body is processing trauma. Maya sipped the tea automatically, tasting nothing. I just sentenced a man to death. You sentenced a man who threatened your child to consequences. Jinwoo's correction was gentle but firm. There's a difference. Is there? Maya looked at him, really looked at him. 3 months ago, I was a kindergarten teacher from Chicago who thought jaywalking was edgy. Now I'm pregnant by a crime lord, I've watched people die, and I just handed my ex-fiancé over to mobsters like I was returning a library book. What does that make me? Mine. Jinwoo cupped her face, forcing her to hold his gaze. It makes you mine, Maya. And in my world, that means you're protected, provided for, and powerful enough that no one will ever make you a victim again. I don't want to be powerful. Her voice cracked. I want to be good. I want to be the person my mother raised. The person who volunteers at homeless shelters and donates to charity and believes people can change. You are that person. Jinwoo's thumbs wiped away tears she hadn't realized were falling. You gave Marcus a choice. You could have told me to kill him on sight, but you didn't. You let him speak. You listened. And only when he threatened our child, only when he pulled a gun and promised violence, did you respond in kind. That's not evil, Jagia. That's survival. Maya wanted to believe him. Wanted to wrap herself in his justifications and pretend she hadn't crossed a line she could never uncross. But the truth sat heavy in her chest. She looked Marcus in the eye and felt nothing when she condemned him. No remorse. No guilt. Just cold calculation that he was a problem requiring elimination. Jinwoo was right. She'd become his. And she wasn't sure if that was salvation or damnation. The helicopter descended toward a compound that looked like something out of a historical drama. Traditional Korean architecture sprawling across manicured gardens, modern security systems barely visible among ancient stone walls. Wealth and power and history woven together into a fortress disguised as a home. Your mother lives here? Maya's numbness cracked enough for anxiety to seep through. My mother owns here. Jinwoo's jaw tightened. Park Hae-jin doesn't live anywhere. She reigns. Rules. Controls everything and everyone in her domain like a queen from the Joseon dynasty who forgot her kingdom fell a century ago. You're scared of her. It wasn't a question. Maya could see it in the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand gripped hers tighter as they landed. I'm not scared of my mother. Jinwoo's laugh was bitter. I'm terrified of what she'll do to you if she decides you're a threat to her legacy. The helicopter touched down on a private helipad. Armed guards materialized from shadows, their faces impassive as they opened the door. Jinwoo stepped out first, then helped Maya down, his body positioning itself between her and everything else like a human shield. They walked through gardens that probably cost more to maintain than Maya's entire childhood home. Past koi ponds and stone lanterns and perfectly pruned trees that looked like living sculptures. Everything was beautiful. Everything was controlled. Everything screamed power and money and the kind of old Korean wealth that made Jinwoo's penthouse look like a starter apartment. Remember, Jinwoo murmured as they approached the main house, no matter what she says, no matter how she tries to break you, I chose you. That means something in this family. Not everything, but something. The doors opened before they reached them. An elderly woman in traditional hanbok stood in the entrance, her face carved from ice and disappointment. She looked at Jinwoo, then at Maya, and her expression could have frozen fire. So, her voice was cultured, educated, dripping with contempt. This is the American you've disgraced our family with. Maya opened her mouth to respond, but Jinwoo stepped forward, his voice sharp. Mother, this is Maya Bennett. My partner. The mother of your grandchild. And you will show her respect. Park Hae-jin's laugh was like glass shattering. Then she moved faster than a woman her age should have been able to, and her hand cracked across Jinwoo's face hard enough to snap his head sideways. Maya gasped, but Jinwoo didn't move. Didn't raise his hand to his reddening cheek. Didn't fight back. Just stood there and took it like a child being punished instead of the most dangerous man in Seoul. You dare give me orders? Hae-jin's voice was soft, deadly. You dare bring this foreign embarrassment into my home, into our legacy, and demand I treat her as anything other than the mistake she is. She's pregnant with my child. Jinwoo's voice didn't waver. That makes her family whether you like it or not. Family? Hae-jin circled Maya like a predator examining prey. Family is blood. Family is heritage. Family is the generations of Park lineage that you're diluting with this. Careful, mother. Jinwoo's voice dropped to something dangerous. Finish that sentence and you and I will have a very different conversation. Hae-jin's eyes flashed, but she stopped. Looked at Maya with naked calculation. You think you're special? You think because my son is obsessed with you that makes you important? I've watched Jinwoo destroy 2 women before you. Good Korean women from respectable families. Women who understood our world and still couldn't survive his obsession. Maya's blood ran cold. What happened to them? The first one. Hae-jin's smile was cruel. Murdered by my son's enemies. They gutted her in front of him to teach him that love is weakness. He was 23. Screamed for hours. Didn't speak for weeks. She moved closer, and Maya could smell her expensive perfume mixed with something darker. The second one? She lasted longer. 2 years of Jinwoo's suffocating control, his violence, his world of blood and bodies. She slit her wrists in his bathtub on their anniversary because she couldn't breathe anymore. Maya looked at Jinwoo and he couldn't meet her eyes. The shame and grief were naked on his face. That's what happens to women my son loves. Hae-jin's voice was almost kind. Almost pitying. He consumes them. Destroys them. Loves them so completely they either die violently or wish they had. And you. She touched Maya's stomach. You think a baby will change that? You think pregnancy makes you special? I think, Maya's voice came out steady despite her shaking hands, that I'm not those women. And with all due respect, ma'am, your son didn't drag me here. I chose to come. I chose him over a man who pretended to be safe. So maybe the problem isn't Jinwoo's obsession. Maybe the problem is women who were never strong enough to survive it. The slap came so fast Maya didn't see it coming. Her head snapped sideways, and she tasted copper. But she didn't fall. Didn't cry. Just turned back to face Hae-jin with blood on her lip and fire in her eyes. You have spirit. Hae-jin's voice held grudging respect. Stupid, but spirited. Very well. You want to prove you can survive my son? Prove you deserve to carry a Park heir? Then you'll undergo the blood trial. Mother, no. Jinwoo stepped between them. The blood trial is barbaric. It's outdated. You can't. I can and I will. Hae-jin's voice was absolute. She passes the trial, she stays. She fails, she leaves Korea tonight and never contacts you again. Those are the terms. Accept them or I'll have her deported within the hour. Maya touched Jinwoo's back. What's the blood trial? It's a test. His voice was hollow. A syndicate tradition where outsiders prove loyalty through violence. Maya, you don't have to do this. We can leave. Go to another country. Start over. And spend our entire lives running from your mother's influence? Maya looked at Hae-jin, at this woman who'd shaped Jinwoo into the monster he'd become. No. I'll do your trial. I'll prove I can survive your son. And then you'll accept me or we'll burn this entire legacy to the ground. Your choice. Hae-jin's smile was sharp and approving. Tomorrow night, the underground arena. Bring nothing but your courage and your conviction. She looked at Jinwoo. And you? You don't interfere. She passes on her own merit or not at all. Jinwoo's hand found Maya's, and she felt it trembling. What have I done? What have I brought you into? Maya squeezed back, her jaw set with determination she didn't entirely feel. You brought me into your world. Now watch me conquer it. Can Maya survive the syndicate family politics, or is Jinwoo's protection not enough? Maya didn't sleep that night. Couldn't sleep. She lay in Jinwoo's arms in a guest room that probably cost more than her parents' house, listening to his heartbeat, feeling his fingers trace protective circles on her stomach, and wondering what fresh hell she'd agreed to. Tell me about them. Her voice cut through the darkness. The two women before me. I need to know what I'm walking into. Jinwoo's body went rigid. Maya, don't protect me from the truth. Not now. Not after everything. She turned to face him, their noses nearly touching in the dim light filtering through silk curtains. Your mother said they died because of your obsession. I need to understand what that means. Jinwoo was quiet for so long Maya thought he wouldn't answer. Then his voice came, raw and broken in a way she'd never heard before. Her name was Song Minji. I was 23, stupid. Thought I could have something normal despite what I was. She was a law student. Beautiful. Brilliant. Saw me at a charity gala and smiled like I was just a man instead of a monster in training. His hand stilled on Maya's stomach. I fell hard. Fast. Obsessive even then, but I didn't know how to control it. Didn't know how to protect what was mine. Maya waited, giving him space to continue. The Choi Syndicate found out about her. Used her to get to me. Sent me pictures of her tied up, beaten, begging. Demanded I surrender territory, assets, my entire operation. His voice cracked. I refused. Thought I could outsmart them. Thought I could save her and keep my power. I was wrong. Jinwoo. They sent her back in pieces. The words came out flat, emotionless, like he'd locked the pain so deep it couldn't touch him anymore. Her fingers first. Then her toes. Then larger pieces. By the time I found where they were keeping her, she'd been dead for 3 days. They'd kept her alive for a week. Tortured her. Made her scream. And I couldn't save her because I was too arrogant to give them what they wanted. Maya's hand found his face in the darkness, feeling wetness on his cheeks. Jinwoo was crying. Actually crying. I killed them all. His voice turned cold. Every single member of the Choi Syndicate. 18 men. I tortured them the way they'd tortured Minji. Made them beg. Made them suffer. And when I was done, when their blood was pooled so deep I was standing in it, I still felt empty. Because she was still dead. And it was my fault. The second woman? Maya whispered. Kang Soo-yeon. 2 years later, after therapy, after my mother convinced me I deserved another chance. Jinwoo's laugh was bitter. She was a doctor. Strong. Capable. I thought maybe someone who dealt with life and death daily could handle my world. I was wrong again. He took a shaky breath. I was better that time. More controlled. More careful. Protected her like Fort Knox. No one could touch her. No one could threaten her. But I didn't realize the cage I was building. The way I monitored her every movement, vetted her every friend, controlled her every decision because I was so terrified of losing her the way I lost Minji. She left. Maya asked quietly. She tried. 3 times. And every time, I found her, brought her back, convinced her I'd change. That I'd give her more freedom. But I never did. Because freedom meant risk. And risk meant losing her. So I held tighter. His voice broke completely. Until one night, our 2-year anniversary, I came home early with flowers and champagne. Found her in the bathtub. Water red. Her wrists open. And a note that said, I love you, but I can't breathe anymore. Maya's tears fell silently. She pulled Jinwoo closer, and he shattered. This powerful man who'd killed 15 people, who commanded respect through fear, who'd trapped her with such calculated precision, broke apart in her arms like a child. I did that. He sobbed into her hair. My love killed her. My obsession suffocated her until death seemed like freedom. And my mother was right. I destroy everything I touch. Every woman I claim. Every person I love. Stop. Maya's voice was firm. Look at me, Jinwoo. He pulled back, his face wet, his eyes red and devastated. I'm not Minji. I'm not Suyen. Maya's hands framed his face. I'm Maya Bennett from Chicago who came to Seoul looking for adventure and found a monster instead. But here's what your mother doesn't understand. Here's what you don't understand. What? I've already seen your worst. You got me pregnant on purpose. You trapped me. You killed in front of me. You've shown me the cage and locked me inside, and I'm still here. Not because I'm weak. Not because I have no choice. But because I'd rather be trapped by someone honest about their obsession than someone who calls their control love. She pressed her forehead to his. So yes, you destroyed those women. Yes, your obsession killed them. But I'm not them, Jin-woo. I fight back. I push boundaries. I make you earn every piece of control you take. And maybe that's what makes this different. Or maybe, Jin-woo's voice was hollow, it just means you'll suffer longer before I break you too. Then break me. Maya's smile was fierce. Try. Give it everything you have. Because I'm betting on something your mother never considered. What? That maybe you don't destroy the women you love. Maybe you just never found one strong enough to survive you. Jin-woo kissed her like she was salvation and destruction wrapped in one body. Desperate and grateful and terrified that she was right or worse, that she was wrong. The door opened without warning. Hae-jin stood in the entrance, backlit by hallway lights, her expression unreadable. How touching. Her voice dripped sarcasm. My son crying over past failures while his current mistake comforts him. Perhaps you'll last longer than 2 years, American. Perhaps you'll make it to 3 before you're begging for death too. Perhaps Maya sat up, meeting Hae-jin's gaze without flinching. I'll last forever. And then you'll have to accept that your son isn't the problem. Your belief that love is weakness is. Hae-jin's eyes flashed. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. The underground arena beneath the compound. You'll face the blood trial, and we'll see exactly how strong you think you are. She looked at Jin-woo. And you? You'll watch. You'll see her fail or succeed without your interference. Because if she can't survive one trial without you, she'll never survive a lifetime with you. She left, and the door closed with finality. Maya turned to Jin-woo. What exactly is this blood trial? Jin-woo's face had gone pale. It's how my mother tests outsiders who want to join the family. Usually it's potential soldiers, men who want to work for the syndicate. They have to prove loyalty through violence. What kind of violence? They bring in someone who's betrayed the syndicate. Someone sentenced to death anyway. And the recruit has to execute them. Proves they can kill when ordered. Proves they're loyal above morality. Maya's blood ran cold. She wants me to kill someone? I'm pregnant. I'm not even part of your organization. How is that? It's a power play. Jin-woo's hands were shaking. She's betting you can't do it. That when faced with actual murder, you'll break. And then she can force you to leave, convince me you're not strong enough, maintain her control. Or, Maya's voice was steady despite her hammering heart. Or you pass. You prove you can survive in our world. And she has to accept you as family. Jin-woo cupped her face. But Maya, Jagia, if you do this, if you actually kill someone, there's no going back. You'll cross a line that can't be uncrossed. Your soul will carry that weight forever. Maya thought about Marcus. About how easily she'd condemned him to the Park family. About how she'd felt nothing when his screams faded into Seoul's night. Maybe she'd already crossed that line. Maybe Jin-woo's world had already changed her into something unrecognizable. What if I refuse? She asked. What if I tell your mother to go to hell? Then we run. Leave Korea tonight. Start over somewhere she can't reach. Jin-woo's voice held desperate hope. We don't have to do this. We don't have to play her games. Maya looked at this man who'd destroyed 2 women before her. This monster who was offering her escape even though it would cost him everything. His family. His legacy. His mother's approval that he'd spent 30 years trying to earn. And she made her choice. What is the blood trial, and can Maya survive what it demands? The underground arena smelled like old blood and newer fear. Maya descended stone steps that looked centuries old, Jin-woo's hand gripping hers so tightly she lost feeling in her fingers. The walls were rough-hewn rock, lit by torches that cast dancing shadows like demons waiting to claim her soul. This wasn't some modern facility. This was ancient. Traditional. The kind of place where Korean crime families had settled debts and tested loyalty for generations. At the bottom, a circular space opened up. Dirt floor. Stone walls rising 20 feet to a gallery where Hae-jin sat on a throne-like chair, surrounded by men in expensive suits. Syndicate leadership. Jin-woo's mother had made this a spectator event. A public execution disguised as a trial. Welcome. Hae-jin's voice echoed through the arena. Maya Bennett from Chicago. You claim you're strong enough to survive my son. Tonight, we test that claim. Jin-woo started to step forward, but armed guards blocked his path. Led him to the gallery, forced him into a chair beside his mother. He was allowed to watch. Nothing more. Maya stood alone in the center of the arena, her hand instinctively covering her stomach. 3 months pregnant. Nauseous. Terrified. But she kept her spine straight, her chin up, her eyes locked on Hae-jin. The blood trial is simple. Hae-jin gestured, and a door opened in the stone wall. 2 guards dragged someone out. A man. Bloodied. Beaten. Barely conscious. They chained him to a post in the center of the arena, then stepped back. This man betrayed our syndicate. Stole from us. Sold our secrets to rivals. He's already been sentenced to death. Your task? Execute him. The guards placed a gun on a small table. Single pistol. 1 bullet in the chamber. Maya's mouth went dry. You want me to shoot an unarmed man chained to a post? I want you to prove you understand our world. Hae-jin leaned forward. In this life, mercy is weakness. Hesitation is death. If you can't pull that trigger, you can't survive what's coming. The enemies my son has made, the violence that follows him, the choices you'll face every day. This is mercy compared to what's out there. Maya walked toward the gun. Her legs felt like water. Her hands shook. Every moral lesson her mother had taught her, every Sunday school class about the sanctity of life, every belief she'd built her identity on screamed at her to refuse. She picked up the gun. Cold metal. Heavy. Real. The man chained to the post lifted his head. His eyes met hers through swollen lids. He was young. Maybe 30. Korean. A wedding ring on his finger catching torchlight. Someone's husband. Someone's son. Someone who'd made a mistake and now would die for it. Please. His voice was barely a whisper. Please, I have a daughter. She's 5. She needs her father. Maya's finger found the trigger. The weight of it felt like holding someone's entire life in her hand. Do it. Hae-jin's voice was cold. Prove you belong in this family. Prove you can make the hard choices. Pull the trigger or leave Korea tonight and never see my son again. Maya looked up at Jin-woo. He was standing now, his face anguished, his hands gripping the railing. She could see him mouthing words. You don't have to do this. Please, don't become this. But that was the thing, wasn't it? She'd already become this. The moment she'd condemned Marcus. The moment she'd chosen Jin-woo's honest monster over pretend safety. The moment she'd decided that surviving mattered more than staying clean. Maya raised the gun. Aimed at the man's head. Her hands were steady now. Eerily steady. Like some part of her had detached, floated away, left just the cold calculation required to survive in Jin-woo's world. Wait. Her voice cut through the arena's silence. I have a question first. Hae-jin's eyebrow raised. You're not in a position to ask questions. You said he betrayed the syndicate. Stole secrets. Sold them to rivals. Maya kept the gun trained on the man but looked at Hae-jin. What secrets? Who did he sell them to? And why should I believe you're telling me the truth? Hae-jin's smile was sharp. You think I'm lying? I think you're testing me. Maya's voice grew stronger. And I think the real test isn't whether I can pull this trigger. It's whether I'm smart enough to question orders before I follow them blindly. The arena went silent. Hae-jin stood slowly, her face unreadable. You told Jin-woo that his obsession killed 2 women. Maya continued, her fingers still on the trigger, but her brain working overtime. Song Min-ji was murdered by enemies. Kang Soo-yeon took her own life. Both tragedies. Both his fault for being careless or controlling. But neither of them questioned you, did they? Careful, girl. Hae-jin's voice dropped to dangerous levels. Min-ji trusted Jin-woo would save her. Soo-yeon trusted he'd change. Maya's eyes hardened. But I'm not interested in trust. I'm interested in truth. So I'm going to ask again, what did this man actually do? And don't lie to me because I'm pregnant and hormonal and holding a loaded gun. Jean stared at Maya for a long moment. Then she laughed. Actually laughed, the sound echoing off stone walls like breaking glass. He worked in our accounting department. Discovered I've been embezzling from my own son for years. Building a private fortune Jean Wu doesn't know about. This man threatened to tell him unless I paid him to stay quiet. Jean's smile was vicious. So yes, he betrayed us. But more importantly, he threatened me. And I don't tolerate threats. Maya looked at Jean Wu. Saw the shock on his face. He hadn't known. His own mother had been stealing from him, and he'd been too blind with loyalty to see it. So let me get this straight. Maya lowered the gun slightly. You want me to murder a whistleblower who discovered your corruption? You want me to prove I'm loyal to this family by executing someone who is actually trying to protect it? I want you to prove you follow orders. Jean's voice was ice. In our world, the why doesn't matter. Only obedience. Maya looked at the man chained to the post. At his wedding ring. His swollen eyes. His broken body. Then she looked at the gun in her hand. At Jean watching from her throne. At Jean Wu gripping the railing like it was the only thing keeping him from jumping into the arena. And Maya made her choice. She turned. Aimed the gun directly at Jean. The arena erupted. Guards reached for their weapons. Men shouted. Jean Wu screamed no. But Maya's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Here's what's going to happen. Her hands didn't shake. Not anymore. You're going to release this man. You're going to give him enough money to take his daughter and disappear. And you're going to accept me into this family not because I followed orders, but because I'm the first person in 30 years who had the spine to point a gun at your face. Jean's eyes were wide. Actually wide. Maya had surprised her. If you wanted someone who blindly obeys, you should have tested me with an actual traitor. But you brought me a man who discovered the truth. A man with a daughter who needs him. A man whose only crime was having a conscience. Maya's voice was steel. I won't kill him. I won't become the kind of person who murders witnesses to cover up corruption. If that means I fail your test, fine. Jean Wu and I will leave tonight, and you can keep your stolen fortune and your broken legacy. She thumbed the safety on the gun. Removed the bullet. Set it on the table. But if you want to know if I can survive your son? Maya walked toward Jean's gallery, her eyes locked on the matriarch. I just pointed a loaded gun at the most dangerous woman in Seoul and didn't flinch. I think that proves I'm strong enough to handle anything Jean Wu throws at me. The silence was deafening. Then Jean started clapping. Slow. Deliberate. Interesting choice. Foolish. Possibly suicidal. But interesting. She nodded to the guards. Release the accountant. Give him the money. Make sure he and his daughter are on a plane to wherever they want to go by morning. The guards hesitated. Now. Jean's voice cracked like a whip. They unchained the man. He collapsed, sobbing, crawling toward Maya. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you, thank you. Maya helped him up. Take your daughter and run. Don't come back. Don't look back. Just survive. He nodded, and the guards led him away. Alive. Breathing. Saved by a pregnant American who'd called a crime matriarch's bluff. Jean descended from her gallery. Walked across the arena floor. Stopped inches from Maya's face. You passed. Her voice held grudging respect mixed with cold assessment. Not because you followed orders, but because you proved you can think. Question. Strategize. The two women before you? They would have pulled that trigger without hesitation because Jean Wu or I told them to. They were obedient. Compliant. Weak. She grabbed Maya's chin, forcing eye contact. But you? You questioned the premise. Challenged the test. Protected an innocent man even when it meant losing everything. Her smile was sharp. That's the kind of strength this family needs. The kind that survives not through obedience, but through intelligence. She released Maya and turned to the gallery. Park Jin-woo's chosen partner is accepted into this family. Anyone who threatens her answers to me. Anyone who questions her place dies. Understood. The men in the gallery bowed. Yes, matriarch. Jin looked back at Maya. But understand this, girl. You won tonight because I allowed it. Because your defiance amused me and proved a point. But cross me again? Point a gun at me again? And Jinwoo won't find enough pieces of you to bury. We clear. Crystal. Maya's voice didn't waver. But understand this, Hae-jin. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of your threats or your violence or your legacy. Because I've already chosen to love a monster. Yours just wears better jewelry. Hae-jin's laugh was genuine this time. Oh, Jinwoo. You've found yourself a wild one. Try not to break this one too quickly. I'm starting to like her. Jinwoo was there suddenly, pulling Maya into his arms, his entire body shaking. You're insane. You're completely insane. Do you know what could have happened? If those guards had shot you? If my mother had ordered your execution? Then you would have burned this entire compound to the ground. Maya pulled back to look at him. Because that's what monsters do when you threaten what's theirs. Right? His kiss was desperate and grateful and achingly proud. Right. What happened to Jinwoo's past lovers, and is Maya next? 3 days after the blood trial, Maya stood in Jinwoo's private study watching rain streak down floor-to-ceiling windows. Seoul looked gray and muted, like the city itself was holding its breath. Jinwoo sat at his desk reviewing documents his mother's accountant had provided before disappearing. Evidence of years of embezzlement. Millions stolen. A betrayal so deep it had fractured something fundamental in him. How many women were there before me? Maya's question cut through the silence. Your mother said too. But I need the whole truth, Jinwoo. All of it. He looked up, and she saw exhaustion in his eyes. The kind that came from holding too many secrets for too long. Just two. Minji and Sooyeon. I swear that's the truth. Tell me how they really died. Maya moved closer. Not the version you told me in bed. Not the version your mother uses to manipulate you. The actual truth. Jinwoo closed the folder. Stood. Walked to the window beside her. Minji was 22. I met her at a charity gala my mother forced me to attend. She was studying law, wanted to reform Korea's justice system, believed in redemption even for people like me. His voice was soft, remembering. I fell hard. Obsessively. Started controlling her life because I was terrified the Choi Syndicate would discover I cared about someone. But they found her anyway. No. Jinwoo's voice cracked. My mother told them. Gave them Minji's address, her schedule, her vulnerabilities. Used her as bait to test whether I'd choose love or power when forced to pick. Maya's blood ran cold. What? I didn't know until 2 years ago. Found encrypted communications in my mother's files. His hands clenched into fists. She orchestrated Minji's kidnapping. Told the Choi Syndicate exactly how to hurt me. And when I chose to keep my territory instead of surrendering it, when Minji died because of my decision, my mother was satisfied. Proved I'd choose power. Proved I was a proper Park heir. Oh my god. Maya's hand went to her mouth. Jinwoo. Sooyeon was different. He continued like he couldn't stop now that he'd started. I met her 3 years later. After therapy. After promising myself I'd do better. She was a trauma surgeon, dealt with death daily, understood violence. I thought she could handle my world. What happened to her? I suffocated her. His voice was flat. Not intentionally. Not maliciously. But every time she wanted space, I saw Minji dying. Every time she wanted freedom, I saw the Choi Syndicate taking her. So I held tighter. Monitored her phone. Vetted her friends. Controlled her movements until she couldn't breathe without my permission. Jinwoo turned to face Maya. She tried to leave 3 times. Each time, I found her. Brought her back. Promised I'd change. Went to more therapy. Tried harder. But I never actually gave her freedom because I was too terrified of losing her. The bathtub. Maya whispered. Our 2-year anniversary. I came home with flowers and champagne, ready to propose because I thought if we got married, if I made it official, she'd stop trying to leave. His voice broke completely. Found her in the bathtub. Water red. Her wrists open. And a note that said, I loved you, Jinwoo, but your love was a cage I couldn't survive. Tears streamed down his face. I killed her, Maya. Not with a gun or a knife, but with obsession disguised as protection. With control disguised as love. I destroyed a beautiful, brilliant woman because I was too broken to let her be free. Maya pulled him into her arms, and this powerful man who'd killed 15 people, who commanded fear and respect, who'd trapped her with calculated precision, shattered completely. Sobbed into her shoulder like a child confessing sins too heavy to carry. After Suyun died, I went to intensive therapy for 18 months. Jean Woo's voice was muffled against her neck. Learned about my attachment disorder. Learned how my mother's emotional abuse created patterns of obsessive control. Learned that getting someone pregnant creates an unbreakable bond that satisfies my need for permanence without requiring I control every aspect of their life. He pulled back, his face wet. That's why I got you pregnant on purpose. My therapist said if I could create a permanent connection, I might not feel compelled to suffocate my partner with control. The baby would be the constant I needed, so I wouldn't have to make you the constant. That's seriously messed up therapy. Maya's voice held equal parts horror and understanding. I know. Jean Woo laughed bitterly. I know it's manipulation. I know it's wrong. I know I stole your choice. But Maya, Jagia, I couldn't lose you the way I lost Suyun. Couldn't watch you suffocate under my obsession. So I trapped you in a way that gave you something worth staying for beyond just me. Maya looked at this broken man who'd gotten her pregnant through calculated obsession born from years of trauma and terrible therapy. She should hate him. Should run. Should take the $10 million and raise their child far away from his damage. But instead, she cupped his face and made him look at her. Here's what we're going to do. We're going back to therapy. Together. We're establishing boundaries. Clear, firm, non-negotiable boundaries about privacy, autonomy, and respect. Maya, I'm not finished. Her voice was steel-wrapped in compassion. You're going to give me access to all your accounts. All your operations. Everything. No secrets. No surprises. If I'm going to survive your obsession, I need to see it coming. She placed his hand on her stomach. And you're going to learn that our child doesn't replace your need to control me. They're not a band-aid for your trauma. They're a person who deserves parents who are actively working to be better. I don't deserve you. Jean Woo's voice was broken. I don't deserve this chance. No, you don't. Maya's smile was sad and fierce. But I'm giving it to you anyway. Not because I forgive you. Not because what you did was okay. But because I'd rather build something real with an honest monster than pretend with a hidden one. She kissed him gently. You're going to spend the rest of your life earning what you took from me. Proving every day that you're worth the choice I didn't get to make. Can you do that? Yes. No hesitation. Every day. Every moment. I'll prove it. Good. Maya pulled away. Now tell me your plan for dealing with your mother. Because after what she did to Minji, she's not getting unsupervised access to our child. Ever. Jean Woo's face hardened. I'm dismantling her power. The evidence her accountant gave us? It's enough to force her into retirement. She steps down, transfers control to me, and moves to our family estate in Jeju Island. Comfortable. Wealthy. But far away from Seoul and far away from us. And if she refuses? Then I turn the evidence over to Korean prosecutors and let her spend her remaining years in prison. His voice was cold. My mother taught me that family is secondary to legacy. Time to show her what that lesson actually means. 6 months later, Maya stood on a balcony in Auckland, New Zealand, watching the sun set over a harbor that looked nothing like Seoul. Her hand rested on her very pregnant belly, feeling their daughter kick with what she was sure was her father's stubbornness. Behind her, through the sliding glass doors, Jean Woo assembled a crib with intense concentration, muttering Korean curses at instruction manuals written in English. He'd kept every promise. Dismantled his syndicate, piece by piece. Turned evidence over to Korean authorities in exchange for immunity and witness protection. Cut ties with every operation, every connection, every piece of the life he'd built. They'd disappeared into new identities so thoroughly that even Hei-jin's extensive network couldn't find them. Daniel Cho and Maya Chin according to their New Zealand passports. A normal couple expecting their first child. No syndicate. No violence. No blood-soaked legacy. She's active today. Jean Woo's voice came from behind her, and she felt his arms wrap around her waist. Must be practicing her escape routes already. She gets that from you. Maya leaned back into his warmth. The need to always have an exit strategy. She gets my paranoia. Your stubbornness. We're creating a tiny chaos agent. His hand covered hers on her stomach. I'm terrified. Good. Maya turned to face him. Terror means you care. Means you'll work harder to be better. Do you regret it? The question came out quiet, vulnerable. Giving up everything? Your family, your country, your freedom to choose. Maya looked at this man who'd trapped her, destroyed his entire empire to protect her, walked away from everything he knew because she demanded boundaries. I regret how we started. I regret that you stole my choice. I'll probably carry anger about that for the rest of my life. She placed his hand over their daughter's kicks. But regret you? Regret this? Regret becoming someone strong enough to survive a monster's love? Never. Jin Woo's eyes were wet. I don't deserve you. I know. Maya's smile was gentle. But you're earning me. Every single day, you're earning me. And that's more than most people ever get. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the Auckland sky in shades of pink and gold, their daughter kicked again. Strong. Insistent. Demanding to be born into this complicated, messy, beautiful disaster of a love story they'd built from obsession and choice, and something that was finally, tentatively, starting to feel like actual love. We should probably figure out what we're telling her. Jin Woo's voice held humor and fear in equal measure. When she's old enough to ask how we met. The truth. Maya was firm. We tell her the truth. That her father got her mother pregnant on purpose. That it was wrong and manipulative and started from a place of trauma and obsession. That her mother chose to stay anyway because sometimes love doesn't save you from darkness. Sometimes you both have to walk through fire to find something worth keeping. She's going to think we're insane. Probably. Maya laughed. But she'll also know her parents were honest. That we didn't pretend our love story was a fairy tale. That we built something real from something broken. Jin Woo pulled her close, his face buried in her hair. Thank you. For what? For teaching me I deserved saving too. For showing me that monsters can learn to be human if someone's brave enough to believe in them. His voice cracked. For choosing me every day even when I stole your first choice. Maya turned in his arms, kissed him with the kind of love that comes from surviving impossible odds together. Thank you for proving you were worth choosing. For walking away from power to build peace. For showing me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is change. Their daughter kicked between them, impatient to be born into this new life they'd built from ashes. And as Auckland's lights began to twinkle like earthbound stars, Maya realized something profound. Sometimes love doesn't look like the stories promise. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and starts from the worst possible place. Sometimes you have to choose your monster over your safety because at least your monster is honest about what they are. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very brave and very stubborn, your monster learns to be human. Not perfect. Not redeemed. But better. Trying. Earning the love they stole with calculated precision. That wasn't a fairy tale. But it was real. And real, Maya had learned, was so much better than perfect. Ready to meet our daughter? Jin Woo asked as Maya felt the first contraction ripple through her body. Ready to prove we can raise her better than we started. Maya squeezed his hand. Let's show this kid what love looks like when it's built on truth instead of illusion. 12 hours later, Hannah Cho entered the world screaming her displeasure at the cold, bright hospital room. She had her father's dark eyes and her mother's stubborn chin and lungs powerful enough to wake the entire maternity ward. Jin Woo held his daughter for the first time, and Maya watched his face transform. Saw the monster she'd fallen for become something softer. Not tame. Never tame. But gentle in a way she'd never witnessed before. I'm going to protect you. He whispered to Hannah in Korean. I'm going to love you without suffocating you. I'm going to be better than my mother was. Better than I've been. I'm going to show you that love doesn't have to be a cage. Hannah grabbed his finger with surprising strength and didn't let go. She's got your grip. Maya smiled through exhausted tears. Already holding on like her life depends on it. She gets that from me. Jin Woo looked up, his face wet. The need to hold tight to good things. But I'm teaching her the difference between holding and trapping. Between loving and possessing. She deserves better than the lessons I learned. Maya watched her monster cradle their daughter with infinite care, and she thought about the journey that had brought them here. About pregnancy tests and penthouse shootouts, about blood trials and honest confessions, about choosing the devil you know over the one wearing an angel's mask. Their story wasn't pretty, wasn't romantic in any traditional sense, wasn't something she'd tell at parties or write in Christmas cards. But it was theirs. Built on ashes and obsession and the slow, painful work of two broken people trying to build something whole. I love you. Jin-woo said it like a confession. Like he was still surprised she'd stayed. I know. Maya took his free hand. And I love you too. Not despite what you are, but including it. All of it. The monster and the man and everything in between. Hannah made a small sound, content in her father's arms. And in that Auckland hospital room, surrounded by the wreckage and redemption of their impossible love story, the Cho family began their next chapter. Not perfect. Not forgiven. Not redeemed in any way that would satisfy moral storytellers. But real. Honest. Trying. And sometimes that's all love can be. Messy and complicated and built from the worst possible beginning, but choosing each other anyway. Every single day. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. If you made it this far, you've witnessed a love story that breaks every rule. A relationship built on obsession, betrayal, and choices that blur every moral line. But maybe that's what makes it real. Maybe perfect love stories are overrated. Maybe the ones that survive fire are better than the ones that never face heat. Drop a comment below. Are you Team Jin-woo or Team Run? Would you have chosen the honest monster or the hidden one? And if you want more Afro-Korean stories that don't hold back, that explore the complicated spaces between right and wrong, love and obsession, choice and destiny, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that makes you question everything you thought you knew about love. Because the next story? It's even more twisted, even more complicated, even more real. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us about your own complicated love stories. Inspire others with your truth. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose the monster who's honest about what they're over the one who pretends to be human.